Sit right back and you hear some songs. Some songs of summertime. For a long and breezy trip. Doesn't matter if you're driving for 3 hours, baby. Let that tour rip.
It was the beginning of summertime, and it was birthday time for my cousin Vicky and myself, and have Dean Martin's birthday right between ours. So to celebrate, we head down to the big old city of Charleston and roam the holy city all day. So we made our way on to our big excursion. A lot of idiots on the road, including me. It was slightly overcast, which meant it should be a cooler day in this hot and humid state, and a stiff breeze if we're lucky. The interstate driving isn't that exciting, but with my sister Vicky and Mikey and myself, we can keep ourselves entertained for hours, probably for days. We also have a bunch of cassettes to keep our soundtrack to this trek alive. As the hits of the Everly Brothers gets us down the last little bit of I-26 and the off-ramps, we finally pull onto Meeting Street and take it down to the visitor center and pay for parking, $10 for the day. I am all set and I have my camcorder and all decked out in my Hawaiian bowling shirt. As we walk down on King Street, we make our way to the market. The city is a good bit busy, even though it's in the middle of the week. But summertime has just opened up its musty arms and welcomes us, or rather barges in on us. But even though it was nonstop everywhere, there was an old man just enjoying his ice cream and chilling out right next to a newspaper stand. You could see the light right above him blinking. Don't walk, don't walk, don't walk. I am walking down the streets with my camcorder just a-going, and people are looking at me all weird like, because in this time, cameras aren't really a big thing just to have out and about. I'm guessing it'll be more common in a few years, especially when their prices start to drop $100 or $2. This one I got special, because it was one of the more compact versions with night video, and I was sure planning on using it in this ghostly town. Well, once the sun went down, that is. We were planning to stay out here a couple of nights, and we haven't booked a room yet. We figured we would wait and see where we ended up in this city, or if we wanted to make our way down to Folly and get a room down there. Life was up in the air, and that's how we liked it. As we strolled down the streets, the building all around us looked incredible. And the way that the bricks faded over with time, and yet there's a fresh coat of paint on the shutters and trim. Each business has been updated also. This wondrous town has many ghost sightings, anywhere from Lavinia Fisher that was hung and buried only to have her body replaced into another resting spot, and the resting place of her mortal vessel had been lost in time, but yet her spirit still roams the area. Then to the Dock Street Theater. This was the first venue for entertainment that was built in America. Then there's the Ghost Sisters that haunt a restaurant. Then we can go down to Polly's Island, where the Gray Man is. If one sees the Gray Man, it is said that something bad is about to happen. And then you go down to the White Point Gardens of where the pirates were hung. There are countless stories, it seems, in this city, and we plan on visiting a few. After we leave Meeting Street, then we go down to Market, and then finally get down to Church Street. On our way to Church Street, we grab up some Benny wafers and some of them candied pecans to snack on. The smell of food, hot pavement, and horse pee are the scents of this place. As we keep up our pace and walk from store to store window shopping for the most part, but we pass this store that sells tobacco, teas, and spirits. Now, I don't know if these things are nice spirits or mean spirits, but I digress. We keep our way down to the Battery, because for today, that's our destination, right before we hit up our room. The buildings range from style and color depending on what area of the city you are in. There are residential homes throughout the entire city. Many of them are breathtaking, and the gardens that they have. Wow. There is just an air to this place. Pictures can't even capture the beauty of it. I could get into the deep history of Charleston, but I don't think we have enough tape for all that. So I'll keep it to the Cleft Note version. But imagine, if you will, the city back when it was first built and had dirt roads, except for the cobblestones that run down Chalmers. The cobblestones were taken from the ships and used to pave the roads with. The towners didn't get too far before the British noticed what they were doing and halted any more rocks to be taken away from the ships. There weren't many trees like there are now, and the landscape was mostly barren. And then they started to colonize this land, and it started to look better more and more, like a small haven for this rugged place. We walk down the road and we can smell the blooming flowers and honeysuckle that litter the city. We walk up to the circular church's iron gates in front. This place of worship dates back to the 1680s. It is a large rounded brown Auburn brick building with huge doors in front. I bet back in the heyday of this town, this church was glorious. I have taken several photos before the cemetery and have caught some mist and some shadowy figures in the negatives that I have done. There are so many headstones with fading etchings of either angels or children. The dates and names have all been washed away from time. As I walk around the back, there are palm-looking trees with orange flowers sprouting from them. If one used their imagination, it would look like fireworks coming out of a tall palm tree. It looks so amazing, like a scene from a tale from the time. I always enjoy walking around in hopes of seeing some kind of ghost or spirit whenever I come to this area. But it seems that we have seen all that this place has to offer. The second spot we hit up is the Powder Magazine, a place that had been built back in 1713 and was important during the American Revolution. And it was even used during the Civil War. It's a relatively small building with beige painted walls. There's a story of a woman in red that haunts this little piece of property, and screams can be heard outside while one is inside of this small place. We look around for a bit, and we get the tour and we hydrate and keep moving. We stroll along for a bit and we make it to the St. Philip's Church. Behind the church is a lawn full of headstones. There is a haunting of a woman who had lost her baby at birth, and her spirit can sometimes be seen kneeling over the child's grave. During other certain times, when the mist is up, there will even be sounds of a baby crying. We wander around the graveyard, and I have my camcorder out, and try the night vision and seeing if we can get any hits. It's not super easy looking through the tiny viewfinder, but I have to just roll with it. I go from tombstone to tombstone. I can hear Mikey joking around on some of the other headstones, and I pan over to him. He is acting like something from below the ground just shot out of hand and is pulling him into the grave. Always a clown, I say out loud. My sister and Vicky are just walking on their own and not paying us any attention. I decided to keep filming Mikey and seeing what else he would do for the camera. He says he doesn't like to be recorded, but then again, he acts up for the camera. Go around to the grave of where the child was buried. I pan the entire 360 from the gravestone. I don't see nor hear anything, but I give it another turn around just in case. There isn't anything out of the ordinary, but maybe Mikey and I will come back tonight and see if we can catch anything. I get a good round of video before we leave this quiet place. We all take a vote and thought that food would be a good idea, so we briskly walked to Hyman's, even though we had to backtrack a little bit, and we went to the person in front of the restaurant and we got a table. Second floor. As we walk in, there are plates on the walls as well as celebrity photos. Each plate and photo represents a celebrity that has eaten at this place of fine cuisine. We sat down at our assigned table and looked onto the wall plates. There were some Beach Boys here at one time. After stargazing for a few, we looked at our menus, and I was frugal at the time, so I got a few sides with a sandwich. We all had a fun time hanging out there, and just excited to be in some other place than our homes. After we had our fill of food, we hit the head and meandered our way out to the front doors. I had to take a look at the map so I could figure out where to go from here. And after I turned the map around a few times, Mikey actually figured out where we were and where to go. So we headed out East Bay Street and would go on to the exchange from there. We make our way to the Provost Dungeon, where it was actually supposed to be a cellar. Even George Washington had spent a week at this place, but spent his time at the exchange, which is above the dungeon. But years before, the erected building that we see now was something different. It was a half-moon battery that had a dungeon below. This dungeon was said to have imprisoned Blackbeard and even Steve Bonnet, and the many cohorts of their piratous ways. They met their last days held up here at the Provost Dungeon, and met their demise at the White Point Gardens. As we walk down the stairs to get to the dungeon, we pass a fellow dressed as a pirate, and as he passes, he says for us to watch out and to be on the lookout for any pirates that could be along the way. We look at him as if we were one of the cast and agreed to be careful, and we went the rest of the way down the stairs. I thought nothing of it because at the entrance there were several cast members doing their bit and enjoyed every second of it. Well, everyone except for Mikey. He wasn't down for the whole reenactment side of it. But as we get down to the bottom of the stairs, we see a huge room made of bricks that went into crescent moons for their stability. This place seemed to be a gold mine, or gold mine, because it's definitely a goal to be able to shoot a video here. Orbs, chains moving, and even some chill spots were known to have happened to the many tourists that vacate this area from day to day. After the initial tour, I asked to see if we could do a run around with my camcorder and see if I can get any kind of apparition or even a voice on the recording. And I got permission for about half an hour before the next tour starts. So I wander around, asking questions and waiting for a response, and not sure if I will hear anything or will have to wait and hope to hear anything on the recording itself. We get all that we feel is relevant to us today, and we make our way slowly to the exits. We exit the exchange and make our way to St. Michael's Church and get a few photos. As we walk down the street, we pass the amazing structures all around. To the right of the tall steepled church lay a slew of houses, some gray, some beige, and even throw in some pink in there. Along the streets are tall glass lamps that make for great picture taking, especially when you can get the angle of the lamp to the right of the palm trees and add in some great landscape. And then to the right of all this, the church steeple. Many amazing photos and paintings have been done around this area. Moving along the Battery, we walk to the left side of the road, and we walk by many beautiful homes. The faded red brick wall and white windows and door trim, and black painted shutters for each window, and so on and so forth for each house. The shutters are definitely needed in this hurricane-riddled town. We make about a third of a mile from the water's edge of the White Point Garden, and we can smell the wonderful ocean on top of the breeze. As we get closer and closer, we can see huge trees that are laid out with huge tree trunks and limbs, strong enough to hang any pirate back in the early days. It may not look like it now, but with the green grass and lively chatter, and people laying around on said grass, reading their books or hanging out to catch a quick nap. And one can even see sailboats out on the open waters. I can hear someone's stereo with some Caribbean music playing, and can hear the set of trumpets playing the melody. And this is why people come here. But still can't believe that 200 years ago, or even 3, that pirates were lined up and decaying. And no doubt that there were birds of prey feasting off their corpses. A few yards away from South Battery, there's a stone marker that enters the garden and tells of Stede Bonnet and Richard Worley. Near this spot, in the autumn of 1718, Stede Bonnet, notorious gentleman pirate, and 29 of his men, captured by Colonel William Rhett, met their just desserts after a trial and charged, famous in American history, by Chief Justice Nicholas Trott. Later, 19 of Richard Worley's crew, captured by Governor Robert Johnson, were also found guilty and hanged. All were buried off the White Point Gardens in a low marsh beyond the low water mark. Now this would be a spot to totally hit up tonight. We finally decided to get to the car and hit up a hotel and chill out here for a bit. And then we would go out and do some investigating. Later, after we got some food and things got quiet for us all, Mikey and I checked the footage of the Powder Magazine, the churches, and the Provost Dungeon. And in the Provost, you can hear moans and cries in the distance. This is exciting. It's not often that one can hear sounds of the paranormal realm during the daylight hours. With this excitement, we grabbed what gear we needed and walked out of the car and rolled down to the historical streets.
Now don't touch that dial. I got about 50,000 watts of soul power. And I'm gonna stop at nothing to make sure you get up and singing. 'Cause baby, this music's loud.